Hello and welcome. My name is Meepolis, they, he, she, and today's pick is Green Almonds, Letters from Palestine by a sister duo Anaële and Delphine Hermans. Originally published in French in 2011. It received the Doctors Without Borders Award for Best Travel Diary, highlighting the living conditions of populations in precarious situations. More recently, it was translated into English and published in 2018 by Lion Forge Comics. Content notes: a heavy topic that includes mentions of all kinds of violence. This volume does not include images of graphic violence. Looking at the Belgian creative team, Delphine seems to be a pretty active and celebrated animator. She is a workshop lead for Camera, etc., an event where people of all ages make animated shorts with the assistance of a professional. Anaële Hermans, the sister who volunteered in Palestine, is a socio-cultural facilitator. Between her experiences and the publication of this book, at least, she worked for the International Civil Service. She has also written a prose novel, Banana Sauce Gumbo. Keywords that came to mind reading this travelogue: walls, checkpoints, surveillance, occupation, loss, harm, privilege, and slice of life. The summary is, quote, a personal look into a complex reality through the prism of the experience of a young woman writing letters to her sister about her feelings and adventures in the occupied territories. Green Almonds is an intimate story with big implications. A young woman discovers a country, works there, makes friends, lives a love story, and is confronted with the plight of the Palestinians, the violence on a daily basis that we can see on our screens and read in our newspapers. Anaële's story is brought to life by Delphine's simple and evocative drawings, which give full force to the subject and evoke the complexity of this conflict, creating a journey into the everyday life of Palestinians. End quote. Starting off with the art, I could see it being a bit of a turnoff for some. I would describe it as perhaps a bit deceptively simple, because even behind the most simple, rudimental style, there can be a lot of thought and skill put into keeping things balanced and pleasing to the eye. Plus, it takes a certain amount of effort to create a full-length graphic novel's worth of coherent content, period. I appreciate the reminder, though, that the barrier to entry for comics is not always as high as my mind makes it out to be, particularly for travelogues. The way the style gives off an aura of childlike innocence also heightens the contrast with the actual material being covered. Writing-wise, I also had a great deal of appreciation for what Anaële and Delphine chose to do, namely the way that they highlighted their position in the story pretty blatantly. Certainly there are shortcomings to privileged outsiders telling other people's stories. That said, my perception is that I am also not alone in recognizing the compulsion to share injustices that you've witnessed back to your community and trying to use your privilege to get the word out. For me, at this point in time, it seems important to not pretend to be someone who you aren't, and not to try to disappear yourself in some ill-conceived attempt at so-called neutrality. Green Almonds still does help give a perspective that looks beyond the headlines and sees people as actual people. This also seems like a good time to mention that this is only one of a number of reviews I am currently in the process of producing, which will ideally cover a diverse array of stories that touch on many different aspects of Palestinian experience and history. Insert graphic of all the titles currently on my radar here. I think I can post links to each of these as they are published in a pinned comment. As always, suggestions are more than welcome. End tangent. Given Anaële's trip to Palestine happened all the way back in 2008, I also appreciated this direct window into a time when I was not particularly aware of Palestine as far as I can recall. She also uses the slice of life style to highlight a lot of different things, example, hostile architecture, the dispossession of land and resources, and people from both sides who see beyond the us versus them binary, in a way that is humanizing but without being a deluge of information. See Joe Sacco for more of that sort of thing. The social construct of race slash ethnicity was obviously fairly central to the premise of the story. Gender and sexuality come up a bit in the context of a woman traveling and falling in love with a man. Class and disability were largely glossed over. Wrapping things up, I rated this volume 4 out of 5 stars. I suspect this is one way for many of my peers to expand their understanding of the kinds of violence that Palestinians have been living with that didn't always make international headlines, but certainly not the be-all, end-all. Bye y'all, keep reading and stand with striking workers. And Literally Graphic is created on land that should be given back to the traditional landholders. which in this case is, to my knowledge, the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation, an Anishinaabe people, the Haudenosaunee Confederacy, and the Huron-Wendat Nation.